Welcome to Business Masters Season 2, where we engage in in-depth conversations with visionaries reshaping industries and redefining the business landscape. Today, we're honored to have with us Mr. Saurabh Vatsa, Managing Director of Nissan Motor India Private Limited. Now, since stepping into this role in April 2024, Mr. Vatsa has been at the helm of Nissan's transformative journey in India, helping steer its ambitious roadmap forward. With a rich background at Stellantis and over 2 decades at General Motors across Asia, Mr. Vatsa brings a deep understanding of product strategy, marketing, sales and operations. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start with some of the recent milestones and then we'll work our way backwards to truly understand what it means to master business essentially. Now, Nissan Motor India, it's experienced renewed momentum in financial year 2024-25, achieving record sales of over 99,000 units for the year, thanks in part to the new Nissan Magnite, which has now surpassed 200,000 units, if I'm not mistaken. What inspired this resurgence and how do you see Nissan's brand identity evolving under your leadership?
Clearly, Magnite is a successful product for Nissan, and the entire strategy that Nissan has put together to come back into the country with the very relevant products across multiple segments now, in times to come. It's based fundamentally on the fact that Magnite has been a very successful product for us. And like you rightly said, last year we finished with 99,000 units of the Magnite, and 200,000 Magnites have just been completed in the month of May, which is a proof of the fact that the customers really believe in that car. And going forward, the brand is putting forward 2 C SUVs. One is a 5-seater, one is a 7-seater. We are bringing in 1 B MPV. So you can see from a B SUV where the Magnite is, we're going to a B MPV, 7-seater. We're going to a C SUV, 5-seater, completely inspired by the new Patrol. And we are going to a C SUV, 7-seater. And all of this is going to start happening from Q1 of next calendar year. So B MPV comes in calendar year Q1. C SUV 5-seater comes in the middle of the year, and early 27 we have the C SUV 7-seater. So Nissan is a brand which has got more equity than share, and equity will turn into bigger share in times to come with all these products coming in because of the relevance of the products in the categories where we are launching them. So it's an interesting time to be at Nissan.
Right, and I will come to that. But before that, your extensive background at General Motors included strategic stints in South Korea, and at Stellantis, you led Citroen's debut in India. How have these pan-Asian experiences shaped your strategic approach at Nissan?
So GM was not just in Asia. When I joined GM in '97, I worked with Opel, and then after that, we moved to Chevy business in India. And when we were doing the Chevy business, we were working with multiple sister companies at that point in time. We were working with Isuzu, we were working with Suzuki, we were working with multiple companies at that point in time. And then finally, I finished my stint at GM while I was in Korea. And I was the product definition head in Korea. So I was looking at all the 16 platforms of GM in Korea. We are doing about 1 million units out of that factory. And obviously, when you work in a multinational environment with different products, with different consumers, with different people, you learn a lot as to what really does it take to make a product successful. Citroen was a startup in India, so we rolled up our sleeves and we went after putting together the entire business in India. So that was a very, very exciting time in India to roll out a new French brand in the country. Now that I'm at Nissan, it's a completely different operation. It's an operation where we have one successful product, going into multiple new products in a very short period of time, so getting ready for the onslaught.
Right, and just coming back to what we were discussing earlier, now Nissan announced plans to explore hybrid electric vehicles, compressed natural gas solutions in India. Also announced that it is studying the market for the first affordable battery electric vehicle, along with the 2 new CSUVs, as you mentioned. So how do you view this multi-powertrain strategy, and what does it mean for India's mobility ecosystem as well?
So clearly, if you look at the market today, the entire automotive market, if you look at it, the total TIV is about 95-96% on ICE models today. Hybrid and EVs contribute to about 4%, 4.5% of the total market. So Nissan, in its resurgence in India at this point in time, is bringing in the BMPV, the CSUVs. They are all coming on ICE models at the moment. Like we've said earlier, we are continuing to study and engage with different alternative fuel options, EVs, hybrids, all of those are under study. CNG, we've just rolled it out on the Magnite as a retrofitment kit. We've just rolled it out into the market. So Nissan is looking at it in a multi-pronged way, and we are trying to make sure that we are addressing the mainstream high-volume market segments. And at the same point in time, we are also looking at all these alternative fuel propulsion systems, which are right now niche, but in times to come, they will grow.
Right, and with Magnite's strong performance and the export success, I want to understand how you're leveraging its momentum to build on Nissan's broader portfolio and customer network, perhaps.
So Nissan right now focuses on its core philosophy, which is called One Car, One World. That's in India. And it's rooted in Make in India. So right now, when you look at the Magnite, we unveiled the left-hand drive model of the Magnite in October last year, along with the refreshed right-hand drive. And by the virtue of the fact that the Indian consumer is fairly demanding today, our regulation standards and emission standards are one of the finest in the world today. Because we cater to the Indian regulation, emissions, and the consumer requirements for the feature sets, we have access to 65 markets across globally where the Magnite is currently being exported. So now you can imagine, with this setup that we have and this philosophy that we have, and the fact that we are working on Nissan's Japanese DNA, its core Nissan technologies, SUV form factors, with the new vehicles that we are bringing in, again under the One Car, One World philosophy, we are going to be catering to the domestic market as well as the export market under the Make in India philosophy that we have. So it's going to be an interesting time. FY 26-27, we are looking at almost about 100,000 units in domestic market and 100,000 units in export market.
Right, and I also want to bring the focus to some of the initiatives and campaigns. Nissan launched the Unstoppable Moms campaign this May, where you stated that mothers today are redefining boundaries. Now, I wish to understand what inspired this campaign and how does it reflect Nissan India's cultural as well as its brand priorities?
Mothers are dear to everybody, and it's not different for anybody. And Mother's Day was a brilliant occasion where we could actually come out with a campaign that resonates with all our consumers, all the people around, people who work for us and outside, and all the mothers outside. So it was truly inspired by the fact that we wanted to show that the brand has a very strong human face to it, a very strong heart element in it. And that's what, while we make machines, we also have a very warm heart, and that's what was reflected there.
All right, and just to expand on that, of course, beyond product launches, it is also invested in customer experience via initiatives like Nissan One. I believe that's what you were referring to earlier, and expansion in states like Andhra Pradesh, Visakhapatnam, Ghaziabad, Rajasthan, Srinagar. So what role does retail excellence and customer-first innovation play in your transformation roadmap?
So it's very important to understand that we sell a product which is priority number 2 after owning a house for people. And you don't bond with customers if you don't give them a warm experience. So customer experience is right at the heart of everything that we are designing at the moment, all that we've been doing and what we are going to expand in the future. So as you can imagine, we are bringing in multiple new products. More customers are going to come into us. They're coming from different segments. Right now we have just the B SUV segment, but as I explained, they're going to come in from a variety of segments. And what's really going to be our focus in times to come is how to connect with these consumers and also give them an experience which is superlative versus what the competition is going to offer.
Right, and just you've spoken about this already, but just to sum it up, of course, the SUV segment in India is booming as well, with plans to launch the new compact SUVs and the 7-seater MPV as well. What major opportunities do you believe or challenges do you think lie ahead for Nissan specifically?
See, Nissan, like any other vehicle manufacturer in the country, is, of course, part of the fabric of the country, right? So whatever challenges that we see in the country, all OEMs are going to deal with that. So Nissan's not going to be any different. Same way for opportunities. All the opportunities that everybody is going to see with the rising young population, more than half of our population is below 30 years of age. It's a huge opportunity for Nissan. So more than challenges, I would say the laundry list of opportunities for Nissan is humongous. Today we are a one-car company. Of course, we have CBUs, but a one mainstream car company. And in times to come, we're going to go from our 2 product portfolio today, which is the Magnite and the X-Trail, we're going to go to 5 in a very short span of time. Looking at the overall situation and scenario in the country, that's a huge opportunity that we see today. Also, we are all ready to go live with it. So while we are talking, our pre-production vehicles are already on the line for these new models. So you'll soon see some of those camouflage vehicles with white and black stripes on them. You'll soon see them on the road.
All right, that's exciting. And while operational efficiency and strategy are very important aspects of wanting to excel in this landscape, many of our younger viewers are always interested in learning about the macro and micro habits of those who are at the helm and understand what it truly means to be a leader. And to that end, as the MD of Nissan Motor India, in a fast evolving auto market that is, how has your leadership adapted to manage rapid shifts in EVs, hybrid tech, consumer trends?
You've got to be open to what's coming your way, and you can't shy away from what's coming your way. So you've got to deal with every salvo that's fired towards you, and you've got to deal with them one piece at a time, while looking at the big picture. So what's important for the younger generation is that when you're looking at the automotive business, it's not an easy business. It's a tough business to be in. But it's also a very rewarding business when you look at it, because for one, you really have fun with all the products. You've got to have fun with the cars. You've got to love cars and machines if you're in this business. And at the same point in time, what's important is that this is a very multifaceted business. It's got a very deep-rooted, I would say, core of machinery, both at the factory and what you produce. And on the other side, you've got a very deep-rooted customer connection, which is all human elements, like I say, because this is, after a home, the next biggest purchase. So on the 2 spectrums, the 2 ends of the spectrum, you're dealing with cold machinery on one side and very warm humans on the other side.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I want to ask what a typical day for you as the MD looks like, and how do you prioritize among strategy, stakeholder engagement and execution, of course?
So a typical day would look like a start in the morning with calls, and then a lot of meetings with my direct reports, just to get a flavor of what's going on. And then over to some of strategic shifts in terms of where we are wanting to go and readiness for the future. And then, of course, a good review in the evening of the overall business.
All right. And Nissan recently won multiple awards at the Exchange for Media Auto Marketing Awards 2025 for digital-first campaigns around the Magnite Giza edition. How do you nurture creativity and marketing innovation within Nissan India? And can you share perhaps a difficult leadership moment, perhaps during a product launch or transformation initiative, and how it shaped your leadership philosophy?
Difficult moments come all the while. When you are leading a business, difficult moments come all the while. And you've got to, like I said, take them head on, deal with them one step at a time. Also, it's very important as a leader to make sure that your team is kind of insulated from some of the difficulties that you face. While at the same time, you're giving direction to where the future is going to be heading to. So that's a part of the everyday dealing that you do. In terms of creativity, I think creativity is at the root of all that we do, whether we design cars, whether we make the interiors of the car, the exteriors of the car, performance, styling, colors, and campaigns and advertising and everything that we do to speak to consumers. At the same point in time, digital is playing a very important role. So we call it the phygital approach because you've got to have physical brick and mortar touch and feel shops.
All right.
And at the same point in time, you've got to have a very strong digital connect because, like I said, all the youngsters today, in fact, all the consumers today come very well researched about cars and products to the showroom, even when they come for the first time. So that's a lot of focus on phygital, I would say.
All right, and looking ahead, which areas in this landscape, electric crossovers, digital customer engagement, or brand-driven storytelling, do you believe will see the most disruption?
All of it.
All right.
You will see all disruption across. You will see disruption in terms of products. You will see disruption in terms of technologies. You will see disruption in terms of customer engagement. you will see new digital technologies, AI, etc., playing a very crucial role in how you engage with your consumers. And it's going to be a multifaceted disruption that you're going to see in times to come.
All right. And since 2020, the evolving workspace has witnessed numerous trends, largely driven by millennials and Gen Z. This shift has also put a spotlight on work-life balance. This debate is reignited ever so often, and rightfully so, which is why now I wish to focus on your approach to work, learning and growth, and perhaps give our viewers a sense of what and how much truly goes on behind the scenes. So that being said, of course, as you would know, the auto sector can be all-consuming. So how do you decompress and maintain balance outside of this role?
I think there's no one way that one can answer that this is how I do it. But when you are in your work environment, you're all invested. And when you are in your private moments and you are with your family and friends, you're all invested. As long as you can clearly keep that investments absolutely focused, there is no stress. Stress happens when you carry the work home or you carry home to work. That's when stress happens. Otherwise, if you're clearly invested wherever you are, it's easy.
So compartmentalization is key.
Absolutely.
And outside of your work, are there personal hobbies or interests that inform your leadership energy?
Oh, absolutely. I love to work on my vintage cars and machines. I have 3 vintage cars. I have 17 motorcycles. I collect vintage machines, and I love to actually work on them. If I get a little bit of time, I actually love to work on them myself. So riding bikes on the weekends, or tinkering with them on the weekends, or getting to the workshops where the vintage cars are or they are being worked on, that's fairly rejuvenating. Apart from that, spending quality time with the family is really important.
Right, and in fact, I'd like to know a little more about that. When you say work on your vintage cars, what does that truly entail and how tedious is that task really?
Vintage cars are an expensive hobby, apart from the fact that you do need to dirty your hands.
I think so.
Yes, and I've collected cars and bikes over the last 30 years. So I've been fairly fortunate in terms of getting the right machines. And it's very satisfying when you find a piece of junk and you actually spend your time, energy, effort, money, and you bring it back to life, maybe better than how it came out of the factory. It's very long. It takes a lot of time. I mean, I can tell you that the first car I restored took 8 years. And sometimes in between you lose interest, but then you come back because you see the color, you see the form, and you come back to it. So it's like an attachment. It grows with time, but definitely it takes a lot.
All right, and is there a book, a leader, perhaps a resource that has significantly influenced your leadership or strategic outlook?
When I was a young man, maybe class 12, I read the autobiography of Mr. Lee Iacocca, who was the chairman of Chrysler Motor Corporation. It's a nice, interesting book. And it actually tells you about the different phases of the business and how that man dealt with it. And as a young man, it really influenced me. And I decided while I was in class 12 that someday I'm going to work in a car company. And interesting bit, I'm not an engineer.
Okay.
I've done computers in my graduation, and then I've done my master's in business administration. I'm not an engineer, but it's truly very, very rewarding to see that I'm working in engineering-rich organizations today.
All right, now I'm sure a lot of our younger viewers would be really interested in knowing how that pivot, what that pivot looked like for you.
Well, once you get out into your graduation and you start, going through the graduation schools, then you get into your business administration schools and stuff like that. There comes a point in time where you truly have to take a step back and say, what am I going to do in my life? I'm not floating, right? I have to do something in my life. And I do remember the first opportunity that I got on campus after my business school was in a paper company. And it was a paper manufacturing company. It's a local Indian paper manufacturing company. And I worked there for about a year and a half. And while I was working there, I used to look after cars and bikes of all the people in the office. And I used to help them fixate or, get them fixed for them. And I had some very supportive bosses. And supportive bosses really make a difference in your life. And I do remember one of them came up and he said, I need to have a chat with you. And we sat down, had a chat, and he said, listen, you're spoiling your time here, you're wasting your time here. You should work for a car company. And that's when I said, yeah, it makes sense. I need to get back to what's my true calling. And that's when I joined Daewoo Motors. This was way back in '97. And from Daewoo, then my automotive journey started.
Right, and what's one personal achievement beyond your career and your current role, of course, that you're most proud of?
Plenty, I would say. Plenty, I would say. First of all, I would say, in terms of personal achievement, I wouldn't call it achievement, but what really fuels me and powers me is my family. And I have a lovely wife, I've got 2 children. And again, it's not a personal achievement, so to say, but that's one thing that I really lean on to give me all the fuel, like you would say, to work hard in the office and make sure that I'm giving it best. If you've got a happy home, you've got a very happy, engaged office life.
Right, and we were talking about this earlier as well, that you don't bring work home and vice versa.
I try not to.
Right, exactly. That is what I was going to come to, that it's easier said than done. So are there any strategies or perhaps habits that help you stay grounded?
Well, first things first, you really got to realize that everything that you do in life is fairly transient. It's momentary, everything that you do. I mean, I'm a bit philosophical here, but that's how it is. So as long as you don't start thinking that the world is kind of centered around you, it's easy. And the second is make sure that whatever is on your plate in the office is finished and left in the office before you step out. Of course, you do carry things in your head, but as long as you're able to do that, when you enter home, you're all invested with the family.
So would you then say that it's important to perhaps look at some things as projects that you're dealing with then and not get too attached to them?
Absolutely. And
Right.
The best thing is, if you want to avoid stress, is regardless of how big the issue is, you break it up into small achievable segments, go after each one of them, finish each one of them, and keep progressing. Gives you a sense of achievement, also keeps the stress at bay.
All right. And now comes the part where I would like to shift the focus specifically to young and aspiring professionals, and maybe they could take a thing or two from this. For young talent aiming to enter the automotive industry, particularly emerging mobility domains, what foundational advice would you share?
What you learn in your books, leave that in the college. Get to the real life, get to the brass tacks as quickly as you can. Honestly, I've seen that what you see in the books in the college versus what you deal with in the corporate world are 2 separate things, chalk and cheese. And that's really something I would like to share with all my young audiences, that the minute you leave your college, try and focus on the business, the way it's run, not the bookish way, but the real way.
So major learning happens on the job.
Absolutely.
All right. And in your view, which competencies, whether it's data-driven decision-making, cross-functional agility, or maybe tech acumen, will matter most for future leaders?
Have the guts to take a decision.
All right.
As simple. I find people who take decisions are the ones who progress. Don't wait for all the data. You will never have 100% of the data to take a decision. If you have 60, 65, 70% of the data to take a decision, have the guts to take a decision.
Perhaps that
good or
ties
bad, time will tell. But take a decision.
Right. And just to what you said in the end, that perhaps ties into taking accountability and having the guts to take accountability as well.
Stand for what you do.
And has there ever been a time where perhaps it's backfired for you?
Well, there are times you take a decision and decisions come back at you and you say, oops, I made the wrong one, but then own it.
Right.
Because like I said, I mean, if you're in an organization, you're fair to the organization, you're taking decisions. For one, you are moving the organization forward. Once in a while, you do take a decision which was not based on 100% of the data. It was not right. It's all right. You learn from your mistakes. There's no leader who's gone ahead without making mistakes. You make 9 and then you get to the 10th one, which actually gives you the bright result.
All right, and speaking of missteps and mistakes, what are the common missteps you see young professionals make in the auto sector, and how can they perhaps avoid them?
Don't get very departmentalized early in your career. I see a lot of young professionals coming and telling me that I am so-and-so professional. I would only like to see a particular vertical or a particular function in which I would like to work. Early in your career, be open. 360 approach is very good because it gives you a grounding across different functions. It teaches you the business basics. And once you know the business basics, you can then start choosing an option within the organization as to where you would like to excel and contribute more. But early in your career, don't get too functionalized or too departmentalized.
So don't put yourself in a box early on.
Absolutely.
And building a brand and business, of course, in the automobile space, as is the case with any other landscape, of course, takes resilience. What are some non-negotiable leadership traits that you value the most?
Integrity. First things first. If you are high on integrity, you will do everything right and clean. And in the business, what's really important is integrity with accountability is a deadly combination. And if you have people who are very high on integrity and accountability parameters, that really takes you places.
All right, Saurabh, thank you so much for your time and your insights on this. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks to your viewers. It was lovely being here on the show with you. Thank you.
And for our viewers, it's a wrap on this episode of Business Masters. Until next time, when we bring you more such insightful and in-depth conversations. Thank you so much.